We wake up each day as if it were just another one. The clock moves, the light shifts. We put on the same faces and follow the same routes. But somewhere beneath the surface, something stirs. A question, maybe, or a fracture. A sense that all this repetition can't be everything. That maybe we've mistaken comfort for meaning. People rarely ask why they do what they do. They just do. They go to work, they wait for Friday, they scroll, they sleep. But the truth is, most of us are sleepwalking. Eyes open, hearts on mute. And deep down, we know it. We feel it in the quiet moments, the ones between distractions. That vague ache, that ghost in the gut. It's not sadness, exactly. It's not even boredom. It's the weight of something missing. We are taught to fill this emptiness with goals. Get the job, buy the house, win the praise, check the boxes. But even when we reach those goals, there's no applause loud enough to silence the echo inside. We are told to want, and we do. But few of us stop to ask what kind of wanting is worth our life. There's a quiet rebellion that begins the moment we start asking real questions. Not the ones with answers you can Google, but the kind that unsettle you. The kind that sit with you like a stone in your shoe. What if I'm wrong about everything? What if my life isn't mine? What if I've inherited a script and I've been acting in it blindly? Some people run from these thoughts. Others drown them out. But a few follow them. Not because they know where they lead, but because they know something's off. And even if they don't have a map, they'd rather be lost in the truth than comfortable in a lie. To be human is to wrestle with contradiction. We want meaning but fear uncertainty. We crave freedom but cling to routine. We chase connection but hide our real selves. And maybe the real journey isn't about escaping this tension, but learning to stand in the middle of it, awake, aware, and honest. Most people think philosophy is about big words and abstract thoughts, but it's not. It's about the raw, gritty questions no one else wants to ask. It's about staring into the mirror and not looking away. It's about burning the script you were given and writing something that's actually yours. You don't need a cathedral to have a revelation. Sometimes it happens at a red light, sometimes in the checkout line. You realize that this ordinary moment is not as ordinary as it seems. It's fragile, it's fleeting, and it's yours. You start to pay attention, not just to the world, but to the way you've been moving through it. How often you say, "I'm fine," when you're not. How you shrink your truth just to be liked. How you laugh at jokes that don't land just to fill silence. You start to notice how much of your life has been borrowed, ideas, dreams, fears that aren't even yours. And from that noticing, something new begins. Not dramatic, not loud, just a shift, like the first crack of sunlight through a closed curtain. You begin to see the cost of pretending, not just in others, but in yourself. Every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you smiled when you wanted to scream. All those little betrayals add up. And not just emotionally. They shape you. They become a version of you. One that fits. One that pleases. One that survives. But survival is not living. Living demands something more dangerous. Honesty. Not just with others, but with yourself. And honesty is terrifying. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending that everything's fine, that you're fulfilled, that this is all there is. Once you've cracked the illusion, you either build a new life, or you live in the ruins of a lie. There's a moment, quiet and unceremonious, when you realize you've been waiting for permission. Permission to speak, to leave, to try, to feel, to be. But no one is going to give it to you. No voice will come from the clouds to say, "Now you're allowed." You have to give it to yourself. And that might be the scariest kind of freedom there is. Because with freedom comes responsibility for your choices, your voice, your time, your truth. There's no one left to blame when you stop lying to yourself. You can't say, "I had to," or "they made me." You chose, or you let others choose for you. And either way, it was yours. This is where most people turn back. Not because they're weak, but because honesty is heavy. It breaks things. It breaks patterns. It breaks relationships that were only surviving because of silence. But what's broken can also be rebuilt. Stronger, cleaner, truer, if you're willing to face the dust and the noise. There's no manual for this kind of life. No step-by-step guide to becoming real. It's clumsy. It's raw. You will lose things, certainty, approval, belonging. But what you gain, it's hard to explain. It's not a feeling. It's not a win. It's a kind of quiet peace. A knowing. Like you've stopped running from yourself. And in that space, you begin to create. Not just art or work, but reality. A way of living that isn't second-hand. That isn't a copy-paste from someone else's dream. You begin to listen to yourself. Not the loud voice of ego or fear, but the subtle one. The one you silenced for years. The one that speaks in instincts and hunches. That voice isn't always right, but it's always yours. We think of identity as something we find, but maybe it's something we build. Slowly, honestly, with mistakes and revisions. Not to impress, not to perform, but to align, to become, to return to something we lost when we started trying to be liked more than we tried to be true. There's power in not knowing who you are if you're willing to stay in the question. If you stop chasing a neat answer and start living the messy truth, at some point you stop searching for a final answer, not because you gave up, but because you realized the search itself was the point. You stop looking for a version of life that feels perfect and start building one that feels honest. You trade clarity for depth, safety for meaning. You begin to see other people differently too. Not as characters in your story, not as mirrors for your ego, but as whole, messy, unfinished humans. Just like you. You stop expecting them to save you, fix you, complete you. And in that letting go, something gentler grows. A kind of love that's not about possession or control. A kind of connection that doesn't need masks or performances. Not everyone will understand. Some will call you lost. Some will say you've changed. But the truth is, you've just started telling the truth. You've stopped shrinking. You've stopped editing your soul for the comfort of others. And not everyone will clap for that. But that's okay. Because now, when you wake up, the world feels different. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You see details you used to miss. You hear silence as something holy, not empty. You notice your breath, your steps, the way the wind moves through the trees. You are not rushing to be anywhere else. You are here. Finally, fully, painfully, beautifully here. There's no prize for becoming yourself. No finish line. No medal. But there's this quiet, unshakable thing you carry. A knowing. A presence. A dignity that doesn't depend on being seen. You walk through life lighter, and not because it's easier, but because you're no longer dragging the weight of pretending. You still hurt. You still feel. You still question everything on the bad days. But now, the pain feels like part of something real, not something wrong. You're no longer performing peace. You're living through the storm with your eyes open. And maybe that's what it means to be free, not to escape life's struggles, but to meet them without hiding. To stand in the middle of chaos and still choose truth, still choose presence, still choose love. There's a kind of beauty that only appears after the fall, when you've lost your old answers, when you've been broken open, when everything certain has crumbled. That's where the real story begins, not with a plan, not with control, but with the courage to feel. So don't rush to fix it. Don't run from the questions. Sit with them. Let them undo you. Let them rebuild you. Because maybe we're not here to win. Maybe we're here to wake up.